Welcome and Happy New Year! In today's video I'm going to fix Dura-Ace 12-speed 9270 shifter, so the latest generation 12-speed unit. The shifter was involved in a crash, as you can see here. So as you can see, entire button assembly was dislodged, so I'm going to show you how to take it apart, how to fix it and how to put it together. If you have any questions or suggestions, please comment below. Now just sit, relax and watch. Today we're fixing Dura-Ace 12-speed. Welcome to the i2GP YouTube channel. In today's video we have a fine example of Dura-Ace 9270 that had some crash damage. As you can see, the button assembly came off, and that's caused because carbon fiber has some flexibility, so when you crash it, that's been squashed, and then obviously because that's bonded, that came out. So we will try to bond it together, but as you can see also the brake lever is not working, so I'm going to take it apart, see what's inside, and you can follow through. As ever, these 1, 2, 3, 4 are D7. So it looks okay inside. So unlike Ultegra and 105, Dura-Ace has a titanium pin or axle, and it doesn't have any holes, so it's more tricky to get it out. First thing what I do, I just put some spray. That's a silicone lubricant, just to kind of make it slightly easier to get it out. And then there is no other way than just to tap it out. But with silicone spray, life's a lot easier. So I'm not going to take it apart any further because you know the drill from the other videos. But what we're going to do, as you can see, the reason why the brake is not working properly is this cam doesn't have anything to rest on. So you should have a piece of metal, and obviously as you can see that has been broken off. So I need to work out how to fix it, and if I can use something from 105. So looking from the left, we got Dura-Ace, Ultegra and 105. Ultegra is the cast aluminium, so everything is one piece. Very unlikely you're ever going to end up in a situation like that, but in event of crash, if that bends, then that's quite challenging to make it, to fix it. 105 is a pressed piece of aluminium, and then similar to Dura-Ace, this bit is bonded. And again with Dura-Ace, we've got, as you can see, that's been bonded in here, a little bit there, and a little bit there, so not much. And obviously that part broke off completely, which is that bit here. So we'll see. That's the wrong side, but we'll see if I can do something with it. So here's an update. We've had a Dura-Ace lever with a broken off part. I had a heavily scratched 105, which is a similar system. The only difference is obviously that's carbon fiber plastic and that's glass fiber plastic. The weight penalty, if you decided to do it, Dura-Ace is 4 grams, obviously the one bit is missing, and 105 is 9.2 grams. I'm not sure if you can see it. 2 seconds, let me just... Yeah, 9.2 for 105 and 4 grams I can't do any better, I'm afraid. 4 grams for Dura-Ace, but bear in mind, obviously Dura-Ace has these bits missing. So I was hoping it's gonna be straight swap, but life is not easy. So bear in mind, this is pure carbon, there is no adhesives here, so very little. Dura-Ace is about a 15.2 millimeters and about 9.4 down the bottom, whereas obviously you can see there's loads of adhesives 105. I'm hoping that's gonna be about 1 millimeter. So if I grab it here, that's 16.4, but like I said, if you see, there was loads of adhesives, so I try to scrape it off or use a Dremel. And down the bottom, it's again 13.2 versus 11, so about 2 millimeters. So as it stands, that doesn't go in, but I try to make it go in with a bit of a persuasion, and then I try to locate it in the same position. That's going to be challenging. And other than that, everything works. So the buttons are exactly the same. The only difference, obviously, these screw holes are slightly larger, so you need to use bolts or screws from a 105 when you're replacing that. But if everything goes well, we're looking at 2 grams penalty. If you ever want to go a 1x, and now with a next function on the 12 speed, you can possibly rip that off, and that's going to save you a little bit of weight, so about 10 grams saving, and it looks quite clean. So here's a little update. As you can see, that's the lever. I've sanded everything down. That was scratched. Sadly, I don't have any quick fix how to make it match, but obviously when I hit it with clear coat, that shouldn't be that visible. You can still see it because that's a exposed carbon, and a Dura-Ace has some sort of a graphite paint, and I can't be bothered to deal with airbrush, so I'm just gonna hit it with a clear coat when it's done. But a more important part is assembly. So as you can see, these are Dura-Ace buttons, and they fit nicely. You can see the gap is nice and small, and I tried to make it so I took a button assembly out of 105 and sanded down slightly, and it fits nicely. However, the height of this pivot bolt is slightly higher on 105 in comparison to Dura-Ace, and this results in let me just quickly. So if I install these buttons, as you can see, the gap is too big. So that's 105, and you got possibly 2 millimeters gap, and that's Dura-Ace, which is nice and flush. So what I'm going to do, I've cut off the bit, and I'm going to just remove that. So that's going to go here. And that bit's going to fit nicely, because obviously that is this is where the pivot is resting. So that bit here, that's going to rest on that point, so that's going to be always under compression, so it's not that relevant. To make sure, obviously, I'm gonna do a better job than Shimano. As you can see, Shimano use 1, 2 and 3 little blobs of adhesive, and as you can see, there's just a little bit of scoring, so I'm gonna score it with Dremel to make some crosses both on this area and this area. And then I'm going to use again epoxy glue, but obviously you don't have to use Gorilla, but anything epoxy should do the job. But make sure obviously you score it, so do a couple of crisscrosses with a Dremel or something sharp, and then degrease it with isopropyl alcohol or something like that. So I'm going to mix the adhesive and give you an update when I'm ready to glue it. So as you can see, I've scored this section, and then I drilled a couple, as you can see, that's not very deep. what it is, so you need to just kind of break the sheen, so the glue or adhesive can bond, and same thing here. So that should be nice and solid. So I'm going to mix adhesive, and as you can see, I haven't removed these leftovers from residue, and the reason for that is obviously that is my guide. So obviously that fits nicely, and I know obviously it's going to be placed in the same location. If I were to clean that off completely, I would possibly have to do some bit of a guesswork how to place it, but because obviously that's there, so that hole fits nicely on top of that, and obviously I know I can put it nice and square in a place. I'm going to use just a electrical tape to keep it in place, and I'm gonna move it to my house because obviously it's quite cold, and the resin, although it's 5 minutes set, it should be in nice and warm condition to set properly. I'm gonna leave it for 24 hours, then I'm gonna hit it with clear coat, and then I'm gonna put everything together. In this section we're going to put everything together. So as you can see, the lever has been resprayed. So what I do, I just, if the scratches are not too deep, I just sand them with a 400 grit paper to make it nice and smooth, and then hit with 2 or 3 coats of clear coat. You can still see the junction or the cut, but looking at the front and on the side in isolation, you won't be able to distinguish. As you can see, the carbon lever is painted with blackish or silver type of paint, which I generally I couldn't be bothered. So this is for me, so I'm happy with that. As I said before, everything has been bonded, so you can see there's plenty of adhesive. That's nice and solid. And the next step is to put everything together. Make sure when you put everything together, these buttons operate nice and smooth. Then we can feed in the shift button assembly or the brains. So again, point buttons down. Then before you put everything together, as you got these 2 little springs exposed, make sure you stretch them nicely with pliers. So I just use these and just to go in between the coils. Always install this one first. The large one, black bit facing down, and this one goes here and stays like that. Make sure there is nothing scratching. Then you put in 2 screws, that's Torx T5, and just start. Remember, one at a time. That's the sound you should hear. And then if you depress both of them, you should see a green light. So that tells you that obviously you put everything together in correct way. So just a final bit is to double check. That's okay. That's okay. And again, don't go too hard on these 2 screws because obviously they go into plastic. So unlike Ultegra, which is aluminium, that's plastic, so you may strip them. And again, I didn't put any Loctite here because I never ever came across loose paddles. If anything, they come stuck. And if I'm honest, that's a bit of overkill from Shimano because these are pain to take out. We're putting that rubber bit here. And then final and most fun bit is put everything together. So unlike 105 in Ultegra, the axle or the pin, so that's 105 Ultegra, it has a guide pin, and this is what I usually use. I just put that in, and in one swift motion I can hammer that everything. On Dura-Ace, that's a aluminium or titanium alloy, and it doesn't have a pilot hole. I haven't found an easy way to drill a pilot hole, so I'm gonna have to improvise as I usually do, and I'm going to move over to my vise and I'll show you what I've managed to put together to fairly easily put everything together. But before we do that, make sure you remove that tension, purely because obviously we need as little tension as possible, and that's going to obviously remove tension from the piston so piston can operate smoothly. So same thing, the reach adjustment, take it all the way out so there is as low as possible tension on these two springs, because this is where the problem is when we're pushing everything through. As you can see, obviously that goes in nicely, but then obviously these springs are squashing everything together, and what is happening when you putting that together, because obviously these springs are the tension, this is coming out of line, and then halfway through is absolutely fine, but then when you get to the towards the end, this is what happens. Obviously this is out of line, so you need to make sure that everything is nicely and in line. So I'm gonna move over to my vise and we're gonna continue. So the tools you need to press everything in. So again, I've made myself another guide pin, and this time it's just I draw the hole. If you got a lathe, possibly that's going to be a lot easier, but obviously what I need is something to follow that pin nicely, because I'm going to push that first in, then I'm going to put that inside the vise, and that's going to go in, and when obviously that's going to be extended, I'm going to put number 13, and then when I squeeze the vise, that's going to push everything together. So that's the plan, and you make sure obviously you use plenty of lubrication, so either a little bit of grease or a silicone spray would do, but let's move over to the vise and you'll see how that works in action. So welcome to my vise or vise area. I'm just going to put a little rag just to prevent any accidental scratching. So the first thing we need to do is obviously put some lube, just obviously to allow for easy sliding. Then we're putting that cam inside, just like that. Make sure obviously these two prongs are hooked up on that pin. Then everything's gonna go inside, making sure obviously that hole is aligned. And then always from the outside we're going to feed in that. So as you can see, I've pushed that in, so make sure obviously that operates nice and smooth, so that won't go back because obviously I removed the tension from the springs. But now what we need to do is to put chamfered edge of that pin on this side, and then 6mm socket. You can use different size, whatever it's okay for you. And remember, go slowly. So when you feel resistance, this is where we're hitting that bit. Then I'm using a size 12, but again, you may have more advanced tools. Then we need to undo everything again. And just go slowly. And at some point you're gonna feel resistance. And this is where you need to switch that around. And I'm not sure if you can see it, but that is not in line. As you can see, there's a bit of a kink inside, so I'm going to swap it over. And then what we need to do is to apply a little bit of pressure. And this is only to keep that cam in line. And as you can see now, that's nearly there. So I'm just gonna go back to my desk and just tap that in slightly. So we're back at my desk. The only thing we need to do is just again, make sure you protect your freshly painted lever. I'm gonna use the old one just to tap that in. And this is how it needs to stick out. As you can see, you may see some scratching because obviously that's been anodized, but you can use just a normal black paint if you're bothered by that. So the next thing we need to do is to put back the preload. Just like that. And I'm using my trusty L-pick just to put some pressure in. And the rest we're gonna go with pliers. Make sure that is in center. Everything works. Putting that back in. And we got 4 screws, they all the same, so don't panic. Bit of a wipe. And just like that, we got fully working Dura-Ace shifter. I need to put the rubber hood on, but obviously the easiest way to do it is if you remove that clamp. That's going to allow you to bring it a lot smoother. If you have access to or possibly following COVID you do a gel with alcohol, that's going to obviously, because that's going to evaporate and work as a lubrication. So that's everything for this video. Thanks for watching. This video concludes my 12-speed journey. So the only bit when I haven't taken apart is a GRX 12-speed, but because these are fairly new, I'm not expecting to get them very soon. But as soon as I get 12-speed shifters, I'm going to take them apart for you, and you'll see how we can fix them if you need to. Over the next couple months, I'm going to create video of a front max, so 105 Di2 and also Ultegra Dura-Ace 12-speed, because people were asking me about that. Finally, I'm waiting for someone to send me Ultegra broken unit, so I'm going to take it apart and show you how it works. As you can see, I'm not professional, I improvise a lot, I have very basic tools. This is my hobby, this is not my main job. I have a full-time job apart from this, but I just want to share my knowledge and tips and tricks how to fix your Di2 if you suffered a crash or if something's not working. Thanks for watching, happy 2025, and until next time.